The story begins with a man driving a pickup truck toward a restricted area. As he approaches the entrance, he discovers that the entire zone has been placed under quarantine and is being guarded by workers wearing full protective suits. Before allowing him through, the workers spray his vehicle with disinfectant, which immediately irritates him. As he complains, one of the workers calmly explains the situation. A minor chemical leak has recently occurred at a biotechnology company nearby. Because of the contamination risk, every vehicle entering or leaving the area must undergo inspection and decontamination. Once the procedure is complete, the man finally continues his journey. While driving through a forest road, he suddenly hits a deer crossing the road. The impact kills the animal instantly. Annoyed by the accident, the man steps out to inspect the damage before returning to his truck and driving away. However, after he leaves, the deer slowly rises back to its feet. Something is terribly wrong, and the animal has already begun transforming into a zombie. The scene then shifts to a financial manager named Suk-woo. While working at his company, he discusses business matters with a client over the phone. After ending the call, he immediately summons one of his employees and orders him to sell all of their stock market assets as quickly as possible. Before the employee leaves, Suk-woo unexpectedly asks what kinds of toys children like these days. Later, while standing in a parking garage, Suk-woo receives a call from his ex-wife. She asks him to bring their daughter to Busan so she can spend time with her. When Suk-woo returns home, he goes straight to his daughter Suin's room and gives her a birthday present. Unfortunately, the gift turns out to be exactly the same toy he gave her the previous year. Realizing his mistake, Suk-woo agrees to take Suin to Busan so she can visit her mother instead. The following morning, Suk-woo and Suin are on their way to the train station. Along the road, traffic suddenly comes to a halt as a large convoy of fire trucks, ambulances, and police vehicles rushes toward an unknown emergency. When they arrive at the station, everything appears completely normal. Travelers move through the terminal as usual, and no one seems aware that anything is wrong. The train driver prepares for departure while checking the route ahead. Inside one of the train cars, a young woman named Jin-hee is accompanying the baseball player she likes, Young-guk. Nearby, two elderly sisters sit side by side and quietly wait for the journey to begin. Not long afterward, Suk-woo and Suin board the train and search for their seats. At the same time, an injured woman manages to slip onto the train without attracting attention from the station staff. Her behavior seems strange, and a wound is clearly visible on her leg. Moments later, the doors close and the train departs. As the train begins moving, a station employee notices something unusual happening outside. Before he can react, someone suddenly attacks him. From inside the train, Suin witnesses the disturbing scene through the window. Unfortunately, her father has already fallen asleep and does not notice anything. Meanwhile, the injured woman locks herself inside a restroom. She appears to be in severe pain as she desperately wraps her wounded leg, seemingly trying to prevent whatever is happening to her from spreading further. Not far away, another passenger notices that something seems wrong inside the restroom and informs a train attendant. Concerned by the situation, they decide to investigate. While the train continues toward Busan, Suin leaves her seat and heads toward the restroom. Since her father is still asleep, she ends up arriving at the same time as the attendant and another passenger. When they check inside, they discover a homeless man hiding there. However, the injured woman is no longer in the restroom. She is now wandering through the train car. Moments later, she suddenly collapses. A train attendant immediately rushes over to help her. At the same time, Suin enters another restroom area and meets a man named Sang-hwa. He is waiting outside for his wife, Song Kyung, who is currently inside. Since Song Kyung is pregnant and does not want to be disturbed, Suin is forced to continue searching for another restroom in the next train car. Elsewhere, Suk-woo finally wakes up and realizes that Suin is no longer in her seat. Concerned, he immediately starts looking for her. At that exact moment, the injured woman undergoes a horrifying transformation. She becomes a zombie. Without warning, she violently attacks the attendant who tried to help her. The infection spreads rapidly into a train car filled with baseball players, and chaos erupts almost instantly. While searching for Suin, Suk-woo witnesses the horrifying outbreak unfold before his eyes. Then he discovers that Suin is standing right behind him. Without hesitation, he grabs her and carries her away from the growing nightmare. They race through the narrow train corridors as countless zombies chase after them. Meanwhile, Sang-hwa and his wife emerge from the restroom and immediately witness someone being attacked. Realizing the danger, Sang-hwa orders Song Kyung to run as more zombies begin flooding the area. The couple desperately rushes toward the train car where Suk-woo and the remaining survivors have gathered. Just as they are about to reach safety, Suk-woo suddenly closes the door. Fortunately, Sang-hwa and Song Kyung manage to squeeze through in time. Suk-woo quickly shuts the door again, trapping the zombies on the other side. The survivors soon discover something important. The zombies cannot open the doors. Thinking quickly, Song Kyung covers the glass window with newspaper. The plan works immediately. Unable to see through the glass, the zombies become confused and eventually calm down. Furious that Suk-woo nearly left them behind, Sang-hwa prepares to confront him. Before the situation situation escalates. Song Kyung steps between them and convinces her husband to calm down. A short time later, Suk-woo receives a phone call from his mother. She tells him to take good care of Suin. As the conversation continues, Suk-woo slowly realizes something devastating. His mother has already been infected. It sounds as though she is trying to say her final words before completely losing herself. Suk-woo understands what is happening, and the painful realization leaves him heartbroken. However, he hides the truth from Suin. Soon afterward, the train passes through another station and continues moving at full speed. Believing the next cars are safer, many passengers begin relocating farther down the train. Not long later, an announcement comes from the driver. The train will no longer continue directly to Busan. Instead, all passengers will be evacuated at the next stop, Daejeon Station. The moment Suk-woo hears this, he immediately calls a military contact stationed in Daejeon. His contact explains that everyone leaving the train will be placed under quarantine. Determined to avoid that outcome, Suk-woo offers a generous reward in exchange for assistance. After some hesitation, the contact finally agrees to help and tells him exactly what to do. If they want to avoid quarantine, they must leave through the station's east exit. Unbeknownst to Suk-woo, the homeless man who had been hiding in the restroom is standing nearby and overhears the conversation. Suk-woo ignores him and returns to Suin. As the train approaches Daejeon, the passengers look out the windows to see whether the station is safe. The entire station appears strangely empty. Moments later, the train comes to a stop. One by one, the passengers step off and begin following the main group toward the station exit. However, Suk-woo and Suin separate from the crowd. Following the instructions he received over the phone, they head toward the east exit instead, hoping to avoid being quarantined. The homeless man suddenly appears behind Suk-woo and Suin. It turns out he overheard Suk-woo's conversation on the train and decided to follow them. Meanwhile, the rest of the passengers leave through the station's main exit. Outside, dozens of soldiers appear to be waiting for them. At first, everyone believes they have finally reached safety. Then everything goes wrong. The soldiers are already infected. Without warning, the military personnel transform into zombies and charge straight toward the crowd. Panic spreads instantly as passengers turn around and sprint back toward the train. Suk-woo quickly realizes that his military contact has also been attacked. Before he can process what is happening, he sees an infected soldier rushing towards Suin. Fortunately, Sang-hwa reaches her first and pulls her away from danger. The entire station descends into chaos. As Suk-woo struggles through the crowd, an infected soldier suddenly attacks him. Just when he is about to be overwhelmed, the homeless man intervenes. The distraction gives Suk-woo enough time to escape. Since Daejeon Station is no longer safe, the surviving passengers rush back onto the train and prepare to continue toward Busan. Behind them, countless infected soldiers flood through the station. Passengers desperately try to close the glass doors while others fight to get on board before it is too late. During the chaos, Suin becomes separated from her father. She ends up running alongside Song Kyung while searching for safety. As they move through the train, several infected soldiers crash through the second-floor station windows and fall directly into their path. The situation becomes even worse when two elderly women stumble in front of them. More zombies begin dropping from above and pouring into the train cars. Song Kyung, Suin, and one of the elderly sisters barely manage to get inside a nearby car and shut the door behind them. Just before the door closes completely, the homeless man reaches the entrance and tries to get inside as well. Moments later, after pressure from one of the passengers, the train finally departs. Meanwhile, Suk-woo and several others are still outside. The survivors can barely hold the station doors any longer. As soon as the entrance is secured, they turn around and run. A massive wave of zombies bursts through and chases them across the platform. Two of Yeongguk's teammates are quickly overwhelmed by the infected. Without wasting time, Suk-woo and Sang-hwa grab Yeongguk and force him to keep moving. The three men race toward the departing train. Suk-woo and Yeongguk manage to jump aboard first. Sang-hwa keeps running behind them and barely makes it inside after an exhausting sprint. Unfortunately, things are not going much better for Suin's group. The infected eventually smash through a glass barrier inside the train, exposing their location. Realizing they have nowhere else to go, Suin and the others retreat into a restroom and lock themselves inside. One zombie notices them immediately. It begins attacking the door, which quickly attracts even more infected. Soon, dozens of zombies are trying to force their way inside. The survivors push against the door with everything they have, desperately trying to keep the infected out. Elsewhere, Yeongguk finally manages to contact Jin-hee by phone. She tells him that a large group of survivors has gathered in car 15. At the same time, Sang-hwa calls his wife. However, Song Kyung does not answer. Instead, Suin picks up the phone and explains that they are trapped inside a restroom in car 13. The call reveals exactly where they need to go. Yeongguk wants to reach Jin-hee in car 15. Suk-woo wants to rescue Suin in car 13. The decision is easy. They are going. After gathering whatever equipment they can find, the group prepares to move. Sang-hwa takes the lead while the others follow behind. Armed mainly with baseball gear, they push forward through the infected-filled train. The journey is brutal, but they eventually make it past car 10. Soon they enter car 11. Unfortunately, the entire car is filled with infected baseball players. Sang-hwa and Suk-woo struggle to hold back the endless attacks. The zombies keep coming from every direction. Then the train suddenly enters a tunnel. Something unexpected happens. The zombies stop attacking. The survivors quickly realize that the infected cannot see in complete darkness. Using the tunnel as cover, they successfully move through car 11. Now only car 12 stands between them and Suin. The problem is that car 12 contains even more zombies. Suk-woo immediately comes up with another plan. They will wait for the next tunnel and move through the car while the infected are blind. The strategy works perfectly. When darkness returns, they cross the entire car with far less resistance. At last, they reunite with Suin's group. However, before they can celebrate, the train exits the tunnel. With the zombies able to see again, everyone is forced to retreat into another restroom. While hiding inside, Suk-woo begins planning their next move. Their final destination is car 15. Meanwhile, Jin-hee receives a message from Yongguk telling her that they are almost there. She is relieved to hear the news. Unfortunately, not everyone shares her feelings. Many passengers in car 15 strongly oppose letting Suk-woo's group inside. They believe anyone coming through infected train cars must already be infected themselves. Soon the train enters another tunnel. Knowing this is their best chance, Suk-woo's group launches their plan. At first, everything goes smoothly. Then they encounter a massive cluster of zombies blocking the way. With no room to fight, they climb onto the luggage racks and begin crawling above the infected. One by one, they move silently through the crowded train car. For a moment, it seems the plan might actually work. Then disaster strikes. The homeless man loses his balance and falls. Suk-woo immediately moves to help him. Unfortunately, the train exits the tunnel at that exact moment. Light floods the train car once again. The two men quickly hide between the seats while the zombies begin looking around. Suk-woo signals for everyone to run. The group starts moving. Then the homeless man accidentally steps on an empty can. The noise echoes throughout the train. Every zombie instantly turns toward them. The chase begins again. As the infected rush forward, Sang-hwa positions himself at the door and holds it shut with all his strength. However, another problem appears. The passengers inside car 15 have already locked the door from their side. Leading the opposition is an elderly executive named Yeon-suk, who refuses to let the group enter. While fighting to keep the zombies back, Sang-hwa suffers the worst possible injury. One of the infected bites his hand. Suk-woo immediately joins him and starts fighting off the zombies. Nearby, Yongguk grabs a baseball bat and smashes the glass separating the train cars. The opening gives them one final chance. Without hesitation, he rushes forward after noticing that Yeon-suk is trying to seal the entrance completely. On the other side, the passengers continue pushing the door closed. At the same time, Song Kyung notices the bite wound on her husband's hand. She desperately tries to approach him. Sang-hwa refuses. Instead, he orders Suk-woo to take his wife and keep moving. Then he stays behind alone. Using every ounce of strength he has left, Sang-hwa holds back the horde by himself. His sacrifice buys the others enough time. After a desperate struggle, Suk-woo and the remaining survivors finally force their way into car 15. However, not everyone makes it. One of the elderly sisters is left behind and cannot be saved. The moment everyone gets inside, Suk-woo slams the door shut. Furious over what happened, he immediately confronts Yeon-suk for trying to abandon them. But Yeon-suk quickly turns the situation around. He claims that Suk-woo and his group might already be infected. Fear spreads through the passengers almost instantly. Instead of thanking the survivors, the crowd begins believing Yeon-suk's accusations. One by one, they demand that Suk-woo's group leave the car. Outnumbered and rejected by the very people they just fought to reach, Suk-woo and the others are forced to move into another train car. Then the door closes behind them. Nobody expects what happens next. One of the elderly sisters suddenly walks toward the door of car 15 and opens it. The moment the door slides open, the zombies rush inside. Panic erupts instantly as the passengers are attacked from every direction. Meanwhile, the train continues racing down the tracks while everyone watches in shock. Later, Suk-woo receives a phone call from one of his employees while hiding in a restroom. The employee reveals that Busan is still holding out against the outbreak. Then he shares something even worse. The disaster was caused by a project being developed by the biotech company connected to their work. The news hits Suk-woo hard. Before he can process everything, the train suddenly comes to a stop. Another train is blocking the route ahead, preventing them from reaching Busan. The engineer leaves to board a different train so the journey can continue. At the same time, Yeon-suk has somehow survived by hiding inside a restroom with a train attendant. He plans to escape, but his selfish nature has not changed. The moment he sees danger approaching, he shoves the attendant forward to distract the zombies and saves himself. Then another disaster strikes. A burning train suddenly comes speeding down the tracks and crashes into the trains ahead. The impact is devastating, flipping several train cars and throwing wreckage everywhere. Yongguk and Jin-hee survive the crash. Looking at the destruction around them, they assume Suk-woo and the others have been killed beneath the wreckage. With no way to help, they leave the area and continue moving. Just as they reach a door, Yeon-suk appears again with a zombie chasing close behind him. Without hesitation, he pushes Jin-hee toward the creature. Yongguk manages to pull her away, but it is already too late. She has been bitten. Yongguk can only watch in despair as the infection spreads. Moments later, Jin-hee turns into a zombie and attacks him as well. Meanwhile, Yeon-suk notices the engineer from earlier boarding another train. Unfortunately, a large group of zombies is chasing right behind him. Seeing the danger, the engineer tries to help Yeon-suk. Once again, Yeon-suk repays kindness with betrayal. He shoves the engineer toward the zombies and abandons him without looking back. Elsewhere, Suk-woo and his group are still alive. However, they are trapped inside train cars that are hanging at dangerous angles after the crash. As Suk-woo searches for a way out, a massive object suddenly blocks the exit. He struggles with all his strength to move it so the others can escape. At the same time, windows begin shattering inside the wreckage. The zombies are coming. This time, the homeless man makes a courageous decision. He sacrifices himself so Suin and Song Kyung can get away safely. Moments later, the damaged train collapses. Countless zombies pour out of the wreckage and immediately chase after the survivors. With nowhere else to go, they run as fast as they can toward the train ahead. But the nightmare still isn't over. The zombies cling to the outside of the moving train and refuse to let go. Suk-woo kicks at their hands one after another until they finally lose their grip and fall away. His plan works. However, when he enters the engineer's compartment, he discovers something horrifying. Yeon-suk is inside, and he has already turned. Without warning, zombie Yeon-suk lunges at Suk-woo. After a desperate struggle, Suk-woo manages to defeat him. But the fight comes at a terrible cost. His hand has been bitten. Knowing exactly what that means, Suk-woo calmly explains to Song Kyung how to stop the train once they reach safety. Then he turns to Suin and says goodbye. He knows he cannot stay with her any longer. Suin breaks down in tears as her father walks away. Suk-woo moves to the back of the train alone. There, he remembers the day Suin was born and the moment he first held her in his arms. As the infection finally takes control, he makes one final choice. Before he can become a zombie, Suk-woo jumps from the train. All Suin can do is cry as her father disappears into the darkness. At the end of the journey, Song Kyung notices a military barricade ahead and brings the train to a stop. She and Suin step off the train and begin walking through a tunnel. On the other side, soldiers spot them from a distance. Because of everything that has happened, the soldiers assume they are zombies and prepare to open fire. Then something unexpected stops them. They hear Suin singing through her tears. The sound makes the soldiers realize the figures approaching are survivors, not infected. Moments later, rescue teams are sent to bring them to safety. And with that, the story comes to an end.